Tony Wells. I'm from UNC in the U.S. In preparation for the program this morning, I actually was looking at your website last night, and enjoyed a couple comments that you put under the TQM and work culture tab, which included your management philosophy is to provide a stimulating, learning-oriented, transparent, and professional environment for the staff. My question this morning really is related to the changing dynamics of the Indian market and the effects of turnover and the expectations of staff. So when I was in India a month ago, meeting with a number of companies, they were experiencing a 20 to 25% turnover in their staff. And they were sharing that every multinational company global company was running into India and recruiting all of their staff for a lot more money. And it really made them question whether the Indian way and the philosophies of treating people with respect and conducting business with a higher purpose was going to be sustainable from a competitive standpoint in terms of staffing. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Sure. You're absolutely right. This is a concern that has been with most businessmen. The way I look at it is that in business, what is business about? Let's go back to the basics. There is a demand. I, as an entrepreneur, feel that I have the capability to meet that demand while still making a profit. Sustainability, and when I add the word sustainability, it means that certain stakeholders must be kept happy. They should see also a way for themselves in that information. In the last 20 years more now, 25 years since I was in the hotel, I find it very peculiar that different stakeholders become more important at different points in time in our business, in the timeline. In India, when we opened up the economy, we went global, we signed up the WTO, it was in 93, 94, if I'm not mistaken. I think for the first time we started taking customers as serious stakeholders. Before that, you could make a scooter and pay the whole deposit. Bajaj scooters, very famous case. So if I had to plan, if somebody had to plan his wedding and he wanted a scooter by the time two-wheeler, by the time he was getting married, he had to plan this 1 year in advance. It was not important to find the girl, it was important to make sure you made the whole deposit, found the money for a scooter, and no bank was going to lend you any money, so you borrowed from some rich relative, put the money there and waited for a year. Or, if you're in a big hurry, you paid something like 25% in what we call the black market. Basically, you paid extra premium to get something like a scooter, and you could choose your color. I mean, whatever color you got was fine. So if you go back to every 4 days, or choose any color as long as it's black. That is how we look at the stakeholder for a customer. And that began to change very rapidly. Some companies made that change, profited from that change, and became very large and very successful companies. A little later, I think, has come the time where in India, at least, the government became an important stakeholder, suddenly all over the place. There was the license charges. I think till then the government was there and they sort of there. Today, in the last 2 years, I find it's the time of the employee as a stakeholder, who's becoming far more important. Because the demand in India is not a problem. In any product you touch, there is enough demand. Don't waste your time doing market research, somebody will buy. I just need to find out at what price point they're going to buy it, and what is the customer value, what is the design they're looking at. That's it. I don't waste any time looking at market research figures, to be honest. Because the demand is there. Can I do it in a profitable way? I need to look at competition. And the only thing I don't, and I keep saying this, the slide is not of this one, but I normally use that one. I think business has moved from managing resources to managing relationships. Everybody has resources. If you have a small company, you go to a bank. If you are profitable, they don't give you money. What's the problem with money? If you don't have machines, somebody will give you a machine. There is hardly anything called a heavy technology anymore. Very few, except for defense, I think. Most other commercial technologies are available if you can pay the price. The one thing that you cannot pay for, and you cannot just pluck off, like the multinationals are doing in this country, is by paying them 25% more. If it's that easy to pluck off people and put them into others, it's that easy for somebody else to pick them off at 25%. They don't belong there. And I think that, I'm most excited about that. I don't see it as a challenge at all. I see it as an opportunity for people like me. I believe in this for too long. And the writing is the wall. I have 70 executives in my company. We lost only one in the last 3 years. Only one. And the whole story of the workers are not doing as well, because still about 100 of them belong to that category of casuals. And yeah, you have to think innovative. So what we are doing at the moment, I can share that with you. We have a problem with workers. If I pay them much more than minimum wages, I get very expensive. So there is a cost. So you can't just pay them more money. You can talk to them. I've been talking with profit sharing for people who are there for 5 years already. But these people who are less than 5 years, I'm having a problem. But I want to solve that problem. So what we are proposing to them is the following. They work for 8 hours a day. They learn, the factory is air conditioned. They have a good environment. They get some decent food to eat. They work in the Six Sigma environment, as we call it. And they are trained to think in strategic and process techniques. It's a higher level of thinking. They're very excited. What happens in the other 16 hours of their life? They go into a slum, literally a slum. In the rain, they walk through knee-deep sewage. And they go and live in a place where they pay up as much as 40 to 50% of their salary, where they can live alone in a shared accommodation with some other men. They can't afford to keep their families living. They don't have a television to watch, they don't have electricity on half the day, and they're killing mosquitoes all night. Terrible life. And then you come back again in the morning, you start talking Six Sigma all over again. I wrote a paper on this, it's called Six Sigma in the Slum Development. The connection we are trying to make in this country is absurd. What can I do as a businessman? I found the answer, at least in my opinion. We don't work for 12 hours. Stay in this air-conditioned place. For 4 hours, you get double the overtime. That means your salary is doubled. Work for 12, get double the salary. For me, it means I need lesser number of people. Fortunately, we are expanding, so I don't have to throw anybody out. Instead of 3 shifts, we manage 2 shifts. The only challenge we still have is 2. One is, it's not legal in this country to do this. And there is no chance that I can go to a minister and make a plea and get this approved. If I pay a huge bribe, I might get it in the house, but otherwise I won't. So I have to do it in an illegal manner. And the second thing is, maybe not everybody is still agreeing to this. So the challenge is, how do I, in the same factory, fit in 8-hour shifts and 12-hour shifts? Because it's a voluntary program. People who want to do it, I'm not going to force anybody. But you have a chance here to earn double your money, get out of the stress that you are in, probably get a longer holiday at the end of it, so we can take a break every year for 20 days. Everybody goes home and meets their families. So we could work on something else. So there are, but I think the mettle of businessmen is going to be tested now, when this stakeholder is beginning to get more important. The supply-demand situation is changing, you're absolutely right. To find a good engineer for manufacturing is impossible. So you try to make systems and processes that are diploma. You don't need a graduate engineer, but a diploma engineer can help you with that. So you break down processes into a way to bring things. I call it McDonaldization or making capacity. After McDonald's, they manage the whole supply chain beautifully. So anybody who's never been in the kitchen can try a very good bench fries. With somebody who's a chef for many years cannot do it. So that's what we try to do with our capacity. Make it so simple. Break the machine into parts, and you teach them one step at a time, with videos, etc. A lot of things, that's a big challenge. I'm glad that the challenge is there because I think basically it's a time for us to distribute this equity a little further. If you look at it from that perspective, it's an opportunity. But unfortunately, a lot of the folks and the Pepsis and the Microsofts don't think this way. And they think it's very easy to pluck out 1,000 people or somewhere else and form a company. I feel that they will fail.
My name's Ali Stenik from RSM. With the rise of emerging markets, what you're seeing in Western society is the adaptation of Eastern business philosophies. For example, in the 1560s, of course, the American economy was very dominant, and that has influenced the way we, in the Western society, think about business. And now we're seeing a shift. It's we instead of I. It's more long-term versus short-term. Stakeholdership, as you mentioned, versus profit or shareholdership. Could you maybe elaborate on what your perspective is on this phenomenon as an Indian?
I'm very glad that you say that this is happening because I think it's the most sustainable way. But it's very, very challenging. It's challenging because, as I said, if you look at the basic theory, unless we have a change at the belief level, the rest of it is pure marketing. It's image. And that is a very difficult road to walk for a long time because if you look at the, I wouldn't say typically American, but the whole capital way of doing things. If you expect a CEO to perform in 6 months, either the stock market starts giving me more returns or I throw you out, it's not going to work. So somewhere at the stakeholder level, we need to make the difference. At the shareholder level. And a public company being, we are toying with the idea of going public at the moment. And one of my big reservations against this is this. How do I make a connection with people I don't see? How do I make a connection only through the stock market price? there can be no connection because he knows only one language, which is the stock market, share market should go up. Unless I invest very heavily in the whole image part of it, that shareholders begin to buy this a little bit. I mean, fair trade, for example, is a very good example of when the stakeholder is willing to pay a little more for something he thinks he's participating better in. But if you can have something like a fair trade in stock market, then maybe there is a chance. So I do see a lot of challenges. Of course, size is a big challenge. I could do it because we were 45 and we are now at 500. If I started with 5,000 people, it would be very, very difficult in my opinion. But having said all that, I think we are coming out as a society where people were struggling to survive. You know, I mean, 20 years ago, businesses and all of us, as students, as employees, our basic thing was, let's make it towards me. So if you were struggling, you probably came to a level of survival, but a lot of businesses have now reached a level of sales. A lot of other people have reached a level of sales. When we get into the next level, which I call serve, this will start happening. So I hope at least a lot of businesses who have enough money and are willing to take that risk will be able to take this and, once the top 4 or 5 do this, then we are very good at following the sheep, following the flock. So hopefully more of that will happen. But at the moment I see a lot of challenges.